of an NFL Wild Card Game this weekend. The Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers survived Big Dallas with a 23-17 victory over the Cowboys. The underdog, the road team, the 6th seed in the postseason, knocks off the 3 seed at home in just a frantic, wild finish in Dallas, filled with tons of suspense, tons of anxiety, just game of inches. It was absolutely a sensational, dramatic-filled postseason game and postseason end. And, of course, when you think about the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, these are two franchises that have each won 5 Super Bowls. So they're storied franchises. There's a storied rivalry, especially in the postseason between these two teams. I believe that 4 out of the last 5 times these two teams have faced off in the postseason, the team that won ended up winning the Super Bowl. And we obviously remember 1981, that epic finish in the NFC Championship game, the catch at Candlestick, Joe Montana to Dwight Pearson. Not Dwight Clark, sorry, I was thinking Drew Pearson, who hauled in the Hail Mary by Roger Staubach. That's what coined Hail Mary. But Dwight Clark in the end zone against the 49ers, or for the 49ers against the Cowboys, rather, at Candlestick. So there's so many great memories from that history, from that rivalry, from these historic franchises. And the odds makers told us before the game started what they expected and what they thought of these two teams. The Cowboys came into this game as 3-point favorites, which essentially is the odds makers saying that this game is a push, given the fact that home teams automatically receive 3 points. So that's what they told you of what they thought these two teams were and how they would match up against one another. But the 49ers really dominated for the majority of the game. They should have put the Cowboys away much earlier. They had ample opportunities to extend the lead, but they shot themselves in the foot, and they allowed the Cowboys opportunity after opportunity to climb back. When they took a 23-7 lead after Deebo Samuel took the pitch 26 yards for the touchdown. And by the way, Deebo Samuel, again, I talked about him last week. I've talked about him throughout this entire season. Just a tremendous Swiss Army knife. He just is an all back and all receiver type of player. You can line him up on the outside. Now we see Kyle Shanahan feature him a lot out of the running back position, which I'll touch on again in a moment. But he takes the pitch 26 yards for the touchdown. And all the momentum is with Dallas, and then Nick Bosa comes back, and it seems like Nick Bosa leaves the game with an injury, and then that's when everything starts to unravel a bit. And Jimmy Garoppolo, as much as I complimented him last week, and as well as I thought he played in the first half, he was completing a lot of big-time passes. The second half, he was really awful. I can't sugarcoat it. He missed some critical throws. He missed Brandon Ayuk for a touchdown on a 3rd down pass, 3rd and 10. That really could have put the game, I think, out of reach. He threw a terrible interception that just got away from him. Now, that happens. Quarterbacks, sometimes the ball just gets away from them. But it was an untimely type of error that resulted in points for the Cowboys. And even a few plays prior to that pick, the 49ers nearly lost a fumble. There was a pass to George Kittle that looked like it was fumbled and then recovered by the Cowboys. The replay showed that it just hit the ground before Kittle was able to get a handle on it. But so many different opportunities. And then you look at the final 4 possessions for the San Francisco 49ers. These were their final 4 possessions. Punt, interception, punt, punt. Those are their final 4 possessions. And it truly epitomized kind of what this game was, what it came down to. And really, when you look at both sides, the final 4 possessions really epitomized NFL football, which is a game of inches. A game of inches. And we saw that on the 49ers' second to last possession. 3rd and 5 short pass over the middle caught by Samuel, and Leighton Vander Esch just stonewalls Deebo Samuel and keeps him a yard short. It was a spectacular solo tackle that almost felt not quite like the game, but just about the game. If he doesn't get that, if he gets that first down, it feels like the game is over. They stop him. It's 4th and 1. Shanahan opts to punt. Now, I thought that might have been too conservative of a play call. But then the Cowboys, they have an opportunity, and they're not able to move the ball down the field. And then on a 4th and 11, desperation heave by Dak Prescott, it was surprisingly a nearly perfectly thrown ball. And if Cedric Wilson just turns around his head, he probably makes the catch. He was a little late to track it and then made a diving attempt, but he couldn't swivel his head around in time to actually haul it in. And it was surprisingly, it hit his fingertips. And he had nowhere to go, Dak. He was falling back, just hoisted it up, and it was surprisingly right on the money, but they came up short. Those are a couple plays where you look back and you say, Dallas had an opportunity there. They couldn't move the ball down the field. And then on the 49ers' final possession, this was one of the most suspenseful, intense playoff games that we had. There weren't many close games. Most of these games were blowouts. This was one of them. And on the final possession, this was the game right here on 3rd and 9. Deebo Samuel gets the pitch, gets to the outside. He seems to have great blocking. And on first glance, looks like he is able to pick up the first down just barely. They rule on the field that it's a first down. You take a closer look, it looks to be a hair short. And then the refs take a replay, and they actually have to come out and say that the ruling on the field is that the refs are going to respot it. That was the official ruling, is a respot. They respot it like 2 inches short. It really is a game of inches in this instance. And on 4th and 2 inches, the game is in the hand for the 49ers. All they got to do is QB sneak it with Jimmy Garoppolo, who they've been 11 for 11 on QB sneaks this year, and to ice the game. They're going to ice the game. Their offensive lineman isn't set when they snap it. 5-yard penalty pushes them back. They got to punt it away. Dallas, no timeouts. A minute left. That's the game. And yet, despite how poorly the Cowboys played for the majority of the game, and despite the fact that they had no business or didn't deserve any right to be in this game whatsoever, they still had one glimmer of hope down the stretch and had an opportunity. They got the ball back with 32 seconds left at their own 20, no timeouts. And to their credit, they managed, along with the credit of the defense really for giving them ample chances, they managed to get all the way down to the 49ers' 41-yard line with 14 seconds left. Then obviously we know the controversial quarterback draw. McCarthy and Dak claimed that that was something they practiced, that was something they knew, but unfortunately it appeared like they couldn't get up to the line of scrimmage in time to spike it. The refs couldn't keep up with them, and the refs have to touch the ball to officially set it down before it can be snapped. And again, it was just kind of a frenetic play. The ref didn't quite catch up to Dak and to the offensive line, and actually kind of barreled over Dak. Did it look like all of the Cowboys players were set to snap it? Yes, but it certainly was going to be close regardless. And that's kind of what the game ended up boiling down to, kind of obstructed his path. That was all she wrote. But the Cowboys, 14 penalties, 84 yards. The 49ers helped them greatly. They had 9 penalties for 58 yards. But the bottom line is Kyle Shanahan just outcoached Mike McCarthy. And that was clearly apparent in the way that the 49ers came out and played. They looked a lot sharper, especially right out of the gates. They played with a lot more emotion and a lot more focus and discipline, most importantly. Cowboys didn't really shake off the rust till Nick Bosa and Fred Warner kind of got injured midway or towards the end of the third quarter. And so, again, I give the Cowboys defense credit. for coming up with enough stops to give their offense a chance, but this was more about the 49ers nearly losing this one and wasting this one away than it was the Cowboys, in my opinion. But then obviously, the funny thing is you see all these Cowboys fans who are crying in the stands, or there's all these memes. And the only reason I say that this is funny is because they were crying with like 4 or 5 minutes left. The game wasn't over. Cowboys still had chances. And you could already see just the great deal of disappointment on the faces, just plastered on the faces of these Cowboys fans. And there's no question about it, given the expectations that not only they had set for themselves, but that we had for them, given the season that they had. Yes, they were a disappointment. They came up grossly short of what we had expected from them. But at the same time, to suggest that this is also a huge upset by the 49ers, I think is being a little disrespectful to the 49ers when you look at their personnel. And we said entering the season, their personnel stacks up with some of the best in the NFL. Their front four is tremendous. Their talent level, I think, could potentially equal, if not surpass, the talent of Dallas. So it is an upset, but I also think, and so for that reason, yes, we should be disappointed in the Cowboys, but I also think the 49ers have just been a good team when they're healthy. They just haven't been healthy all year. And I think that's partly the problem.